The other convo, by the way, along with do we need coaches, that has to happen in every big esports game, by the way, it goes like this. Do you think Koreans can actually play this game, though? Are they only good at StarCraft? Because, by the way, if people don't know, that was the first year of my show with Monty and fucking Overwatch. It was me and Monty explaining to Western pros, like, no, I know you're really good, but, like, they're going to be better than you. So, like, no, but why would they, though? Because when I went at this tournament, I beat them. It was like, listen, my sweet summer child, that's not the way it's going to be, but okay, you just wait. Yeah. I even said at the beginning, I nailed this at the beginning of Watch. I actually did a video sideshow where I actually counted in season 1 of Overwatch League how many Korean players there were, and then I showed that in season 2, you know, it went up to, like, half the league, and then I said it's only going to go more because logically, when you have really good Koreans, they're going to go, well, I know another really good Korean, why don't we recruit him? And so the premise goes like this, right? Spoiler, that's probably not going to happen in Valorant because the difference, and this is a key thing a lot of people don't understand who are from the West, right? Because Korea culturally is very homogenous. They all like basically the same shit everyone else is into. Whatever's popular, everyone just gets attracted to that. And everyone's watching the same TV show, the same singers are super insanely popular. It works with video games. What happens is video games in Korea, it's not just that the game has to be released. It has to be a cultural phenomenon. Otherwise, you never get like the Korean effect that we got in Overwatch, for example, where basically after a couple of seasons, every team had Koreans, if not mostly Koreans, if not sometimes whole Korean teams, even though in theory it was, you know, it was a world league. It could be anyone from anywhere, right? That probably, as far as I can tell, isn't going to, like, we'll probably actually have someone like Wolf on a future episode. We can talk more explicitly. But as far as I can tell, based on like PC bang numbers and stuff, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case with Valorant. It looks like you're more akin to the situation we had in Counter-Strike, where it's like, as with Vision Strikers, you can get a couple of teams of people, often like in Vision Strikers cases, people with past history in the franchise, so they're already like skilled players, and essentially if they practice really diligently and sort of like in a very, I would say, creative manner, because they don't have enough good talent around them necessarily to practice against like you do in the other regions. If they do an amazing job, maybe one or two of those teams could go international and be like a dark horse. I get the vibe that's like the best you can currently hope for from Korea. If you're hoping it's going to be like League of Legends or Overwatch and they're just going to be the kings of the game, and it doesn't seem like there's enough people into the game, unfortunately. It doesn't seem like it's taken off like even Overwatch did in the first couple of years.
Yeah, I think the root cause of that is frequently discussed as being like the Vanguard system that didn't really work with PC bongs.
Exactly.
I don't know the validity of that. I haven't been in Korea. I can't speak to like whether it got, you know.
But this way, I will just say, it really is the case in Korea that if you don't make it in the PC bang, it just won't be a widespread game because so many people are going there to play. Yeah.
And presumably that should get lessened as time goes on, as more people get home equipment. But I think it still is, at least it seems to be, a pretty good indicator still. Because when you look at their open qualification for this, they only got 42 teams that signed up. And that's, I mean, in fact, it speaks to how incredibly talented the like top end of Korea is, that they can make even one, and currently there are two teams that would be internationally competitive. In the top 10, I think there are currently two teams. Maybe top 10 is too generous, actually. But it's somewhere around there. There'd be at least one team in the top 10 right now, and I think there might be two from Korea.
That's fair.
And that, to me, is bonkers when you consider there's only 42 teams that have signed up. You're talking about 210 players there, minimum. But yeah, that's your rough estimate, which is insane. And people who are more tapped in with the Korean scene have countered that point a little bit by saying that part of the reason the numbers signing up are low is because you have to commit to a LAN. You're in a pandemic environment, and you're being asked, if you qualify, you must attend the LAN. And so in order to qualify, you have to be happy with like doing that, traveling.
Yeah, I will say,
playing in the LAN environment.
If people don't know culturally, like already, I'll give you a quick example. When I was in Korea years before there was anything like COVID going around, etc., people already, if they got a cold, used to wear those masks anyway. So if people don't know, Korea already as a country is like I would have said back then, obviously not on this particular topic, I would have said back then they were a little bit hypochondriac, like they were almost over concerned with health, and like you know this sideshow. The joke is half the time someone that gets benched for a week, they would just always lie and say he was ill for like 2 weeks or something. You know, it happened so many times in Overwatch. It was fucking mental. Like, oh, they just didn't want to play that week, and they would always just say, I'm ill, and have some reason. Whereas like that's a bit weird in the West that you'd be ill for like a week and just miss games. You know, so all I'll say is like I could actually totally imagine if you told them it's for a LAN, and also eventually it qualifies you to go abroad. To be fair, right now, a lot of Koreans might not be into that, to be fair.
Yeah, so it's
Side
possible that
note,
those numbers will get bigger. Go on.
I just wanted to add, this is why I think the UK would be an excellent choice for the next Valorant LAN, because, I mean, of the three of us, only I actually still live here, despite us all being British. We have no COVID restrictions anymore in this country. So come and have a LAN, get everyone in, and it doesn't matter. Like, you're fine. There you go.
And to be fair, Gio's not even living out of choice. She's trying to get the fuck out too, so...
That's true.
I don't know what sort of advertisement this is for the UK, but whatever.
Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking about that. I mean, I think that the lack of restrictions was a big sticking point for a lot of people in the UK for a while. But yeah, I suppose that's a bonus factor. But yeah, Korea is actually in a good spot right now, considering it's not going to explode like you're saying, Thorin. I don't think that's very likely, just due to the lack of people that are interested in signing up for the big events. But frankly, for the amount of people that are involved, the fact that they do have those two competitive teams, and they actually have a rivalry brewing currently. There are like 3 competitive teams, but there's 2 that are clearly better. And there's now some serious competition in the region. I think it's poised to improve. And I really just wish that there were more international tournaments so that they had more chances to get that level of improvement. Because every time there's a LAN event, they go back and you can see their domestic play shifting. They add new like agents into their meta, and they
have to learn the meta,
of course. They work on different like pacing as well. They used to be like mega tactical, very fast paced, didn't really have any slow rounding or defaulting at all. And now they've just, I mean, it's come across leaps and bounds. They're still the best tactical region in the world, but they've now added the necessary slower pace to be able to, you know, actually function as a team. Whereas previously they were just getting dismantled because they were too readable. The other region that's interesting too is China, because that's about to, they just had a big Chinese tournament with like all of the top teams as far as we could tell. And that region is poised, presumably, to release the game officially soon. There's been like stirrings on Weibo for a while about like the Valorant being released, but the Chinese government has been blocking any new game releases as part of their as a like war on soy boy culture or whatever the fuck is going on in China, because they're just absolute madness happening over there. Anyway, there's a tournament that's currently going on, and should it take off in that region, that would be another one to keep a serious eye on, because I think it's the kind of game that both Korean and Chinese teams would be fantastic at.
Oh, God. But it would be like an entirely different fucking game. If it's anything like Chinese Overwatch, where they just you'd have like crazy shit, but they would like just do it so well. Yes. I just think it'd be entertaining more than anything. You know, I'm sure there would be amazing teams. I'm not doubting that. But even if they were all shit, I'd still want to watch it, just because of the way that Chinese teams like approach video games. It's just always so creative.
I mean, part of the beauty is because they have so many people there in an absolute sense. The game actually, unlike in the Korean example, because people forget, Korea population-wise compared to China is nowhere near. Like, it's not even in the same fucking ballpark. It's just that Koreans are so exceptionally good at games. Somehow, like, on an actual competitive level, we can compare those two, because that's how epically good. But the good thing about China is, even if the game is niche in release there could still be enough people to have a vibrant scene, because how many bazillion people live there. So that is also why, to Gio's point, though, in every esports game I'm aware of where China has enough people play the game, they also get this really weird thing where their whole scene becomes a complete bubble, and their meta is like barely even at all related to the West, because they don't watch the West, they don't give a fuck, they just care about their shit. And then there's so many players and teams, they can just essentially they invent their own way and protocols and logic as to what you do. And that's why essentially, if you then get the international competition, it's mega interesting to see one of those teams come over that's had no contact with the Western squads. Like, they could low-key, every now and then, this is happening in League of Legends, it turns out you thought they were the ones that they're behind on the meta. It's like, actually, they figured out the meta, and you're the one that's behind. That happens sometimes, you never know.
It did take them 5 years to get to that point in Overwatch, though, which is criminally slow. I mean,
it was wild.
China's fantastic at the moment in Overwatch. 2021 and 2022 have been amazing years for Chinese Overwatch. But before that, it was a bit of a joke, honestly, because of the lack of development within the region. They didn't have like the structure, the coaches, the even the player base. Actually, just some of the roles didn't look very good. So I don't know what's required to speed that process up. But if it's in any way similar, Valorant 2 is going to be out by the time they're a region to be like cracking into international wins.
Right, here's the topic.
Chinese Overwatch was weird. I was just going to say Chinese Overwatch was weird because it felt like there would be a lot of like really talented individuals, but then they were all just like thrown into a blender, which was like a team, is, you know, what they'd slap on the front of that. And then you just sort of like watch them have at each other. And it wasn't, I mean, I kind of stopped really paying attention to Overwatch at the start of 2020 when I started working in Rainbow Six instead. But I remember like when the 3 new Chinese like franchises came in and they actually started picking up more Chinese players into the Overwatch League, seeing a lot of those players transition into that more structured environment, like it was like night and day from like the actual just like Chinese contender scene.
All I'm going to say is if someone is a Valorant fan, they're immediately like, it feels like Gio's about to go out for a fucking packet of cigarettes like she does every 2 years and go, I'll be back later. And then she just goes to another game. Like, where's Gio? Like, where is Gio? Like, because let me get a track of this. So it was Overwatch. Then a year later, it was like fucking Rainbow Six. Then it's like, what is it? Do you average like a year and a half in every game or something? What's the logic?
Multi-talented. That's the correct one.
Right, there you go. My bad. Yes, my bad.
Let's not pretend like I'm the only person in this call who has like been involved in more than one game.
All right.
Like, you were like, oh yeah, you know, Sideshow, he's an OG, he was in TF2. Why the fuck do I get that treatment?
Okay. Because he was just putting in years when there was nothing even to gain from it. He was just a fucking boomer in the northeast of England.
I didn't even know. I was a 15-year-old just playing a video game. I didn't even know what I was getting myself into. There was no grand plan at that time.
No. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.